This is a crazy client story. Even I'm surprised by it because our client was able to drop his fasting blood sugar by 73 points, which is crazy in itself, but also drop his post-meal levels by 160, like 160 points. And this was all while stopping all four of his metformin pills and still enjoying carbs, right? Just it blew my mind when I was thinking back on his journey, because he came to us with a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, and his blood sugars were in like the low 200s fasting, around 280 post-meal. He was recovering from a heart attack, so rehabilitating himself from that. So a lot going on, and he had tried the metformin pills, the 3 to 4 a day, taking the magnesium, doing the walks, weightlifting, taking the supplements. For him, it was he was big on like medicinal mushrooms, but he was still seeing like the big blood sugar spikes in the morning, post-meal, and really want to gain those down to a more normal range without having to rely on a medication, right? And so he was still seeing those until we started using the principles of the Pullman method. And for him, it really started with resetting his circadian rhythm, because it's such a huge player in anybody that wants better blood sugar control, especially if you have insulin resistance. And so when you're getting that sunlight in your eyes, what that helps is it dictates the hormones that determine your blood sugar balance, especially when you're not eating, right? And so those hormones, things like melatonin and leptin and cortisol, all determine the level of your insulin resistance. And so when we can get those working correctly, and we're more sensitive to those hormones, it improves directly our insulin sensitivity without even changing the types of foods that we're eating, right? And so we encourage him to get outside first thing in the morning, throughout the day, and block that light at night, so his body was able to produce those hormones that allowed him to stay more insulin sensitive. So huge thing for him. The second thing that we did is we gradually increased the walks that he was doing, because he was walking throughout the day, but it wasn't for very long, and he was still recovering from a heart attack, right? So we didn't want to push him too much. So we gradually worked it up to the point where he's doing that at least 2 to 3 times a day and outside, right? So he's getting the benefit of the sun and the light, but also the non-stressful activity. And especially if that could be like after a meal for him, it really helped him in his body to tolerate carbs better. So really huge. Thirdly, we looked at incorporating more dense proteins, because his body really felt good with that. He was filling up, he was staying satisfied. So think, the chicken, the beef, the turkey of the world. Think salmon, I meant to say seafood, so salmon and shrimp and tilapia, organ meats, anything that was really dense and filling from a protein perspective really, really helped him. And especially when we can incorporate more variety, that was really key for him, because we did nutrient test on him and we found that he was really iron overloaded, right? And so nutrients like copper and vitamin A were really, really key for him, for his body to start utilizing that iron a little bit more effectively, so he could lower his inflammation and inevitably improve his blood sugar. And so that was huge. For him, we also did a little bit of blood donations because of how high his iron levels really were. And you have to be careful with that, of course, when someone has had a heart attack. But after his doctor sign off, we did a few of those, and he found it to be really effective in lowering that insulin resistance that he was having as well. And so as a result of that, he was able to, again, drop his blood sugar in the morning by 73 points. He was able to reduce his post-meal blood sugar by 160 points, get off of all 4 metformin pills, and he's still eating carbs. He's still feeling satisfied after eating, right? Which is what we want. We don't want this to be at the cost of his overall well-being, his way of living, having to live in a restrictive way. And the reason why that worked like that, because he's focused on more than just the food, which is really, really important. And so if you want to improve your blood sugar levels like our client did, message me the word interest, and we can have a one-on-one conversation to see if we're the best team to be able to support you in getting to the health and the blood sugar goals that you have.